Zoom service. I'm Suzanne Molnar, a member of the worship committee. And our service today is a holiday pageant or radio play or play reading, something special. Written by Reverend Carol, at least I believe it is, and titled A Peripatetic Holiday Pageant. And I'll introduce the cast in a little bit. Faced with a pandemic, which obliges the young couple to avoid close contact with strangers for longer than a few minutes, Mary and Joseph seek comfort in a time of great need. They journey from place to place, finding essential things at each spot. A rabbi who offers them the hope of the Hanukkah story, plus food. A Christian family who offers them the inspiration of the Christmas story, plus warm blankets and coats and clothes. A pagan farmer celebrating Yule who offers them shelter and eventually a job, and joined by his friends. And finally, a virtual UU service where everyone is welcome, where there's always room at the inn. Our cast is Linda and Jerry as Mary and Joseph, Ellen as Rabbi Rachel, Curtis as Elena, Sherry as Stephanie, Chris as Farmer Fred, and wise people, Andy, Joey, and Diane. And finally, when we get to a point in the service where we're asking for animal sounds, hopefully all of you will join in. And I'll kind of cue them, request them, or you can just, put in the ones you think I should have. So, as our story begins, we find a young couple, Mary and Joseph, wandering on the road alone. They are very troubled because they've lost their jobs and been evicted from their home during a terrible pandemic. They're frightened, lonely, and very worried.
This pandemic stinks. We thought it would be over months ago and that everything would go back to normal. But instead, our lives have just fallen apart. I'm really scared.
What are we going to do? Who's going to help us, especially when everyone is so afraid to talk to strangers or let anyone in their houses? Even our own families don't want us to live with them because we might get them sick.
I guess we're just going to have to ask for help wherever we can find it. Maybe we should try that house over there, the one with candles in the window. That looks nice. And aren't the candles supposed to be symbols of people being welcome? Maybe they would be willing to help us.
So Mary and Joseph head up the walkway to a house with welcoming candles in the window. But these are not ordinary candles. They're actually a menorah, marking the Jewish season of Hanukkah. As they knock on the door, a kindly woman opens it for them and looks at them with concern in her eyes.
Unmute. Unmute.
Ellen?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Hello there. How can I help you? You look cold and tired. Please, let's put our masks on and you can come in. I have some disposable ones if, if you don't have yours.
Thank you so much. We are in trouble and we're desperately looking for some help. We lost our jobs and our home in the pandemic and we don't have anywhere to go.
Oh dear, that's awful. Well, I am Rabbi Rachel and I would be happy to help you. What are your names?
I am Mary, and this is Joseph.
Well, come sit in my kitchen while I make you some food and I'll tell you a story that may give you some hope.
So they follow her into the cozy kitchen, and she brings them a plate of latkes freshly made for Hanukkah. And while she speaks, she begins to pack a bag of food they can carry.
As I said before, I'm a rabbi, and in my tradition, this is the season of Hanukkah. At this time of year, we celebrate a miracle. In ancient times, the Jewish people were persecuted by a king named Antiochus, who kicked them out of their most sacred place, the temple. A group of Jews were determined to get their temple back, and they fought Antiochus, won, and were able to claim the temple. Now, it was important to keep the sacred oil lamp in the temple burning, and there was only enough oil to keep it lit for one day. But a miracle happened, and the oil, which was only enough for one day, burned for 8, enough time to get new oil. And the story of that miracle gives us hope when times are dark. And this is why we light a menorah with its 8 candles, one for each day for 8 days, to represent the days the temple lamp stayed lit.
So you actually believe in miracles? I'm not so sure.
Yes, I believe in miracles. And I also know that with help from others and a little hope, we might be able to make some miracles. Now, sadly, you cannot stay here, but I have food ready for you to take on your way. Looks kind of like a coffee, but there you go. I'd suggest you try the 3rd house down on the other side of the street. They are wonderful people who may be able to help you some more.
So Mary and Joseph head out, thanking Rabbi Rachel and feeling a little bit lighter. As they go, they walk a little way down the road and come to the house Rabbi Rachel had suggested. It's a welcoming place with candles in the window, but these clearly are not a menorah. Yeah, he's clearly too tall to be seen. Oh well. They put on their masks, and when they ring the doorbell, a kind-looking woman greets them.
Can we help you?
Can we help you?
Rabbi Rachel sent us here. We are homeless and looking for help. She said you might be able to help us.
Oh my goodness, of course. We'll just put our masks on and you can come in. Pardon the mess. Our kids are homeschooling right now, and they create total chaos wherever they go. Please, though, have a seat and tell us how we can help you.
Well, our biggest problem is that we have no place to stay. We need to find some shelter, and our families won't let us come home because of the pandemic. We have no clue where to go.
Wow, that sounds awful. So we're so sorry. What are your names?
Joseph and Mary.
That makes Elena and Stephanie look at each other with raised eyebrows.
Seriously? Joseph and Mary at this time of year? Okay, well, that's pretty interesting.
Do you know the Christian Christmas story?
Not really. I mean, Christmas is about Santa and presents, right?
Well, sorta. I mean, that part's nice, but it's not really the point. See, in our tradition, that holiday is all about a couple named Mary and Joseph looking for a place to stay when their baby was on the way. They couldn't find a place to shelter, and so they ended up staying in a manger, basically a farm stable, with a bunch of animals. The baby turned out to be a big deal, a savior who brought a lot of light and goodness to the world, kind of like you two, out in the cold, looking for a safe place to stay, to get your feet again and start a new life.
Hey, I've got an idea. How about if we call Fred and see if he'll let them stay at his place?
Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Fred's a local farmer, and he may have a place where you two can stay.
So Stephanie picks up her cell phone and calls Fred. He says he's happy to give the couple shelter while they're trying to figure out things. So Elena hops in the car with Joseph and Mary, adds some blankets and warm coats, hats and gloves to their supply of belongings, and drives them out to Fred's farm. Fred greets them in the driveway.
Welcome, welcome to the farm. Really glad Stephanie called me, Eleanor, and I'm really glad to be able to help. You must be Mary and Joseph. Follow me and we'll get you settled into our spare building.
So Farmer Fred leads them to a small building with a space heater buzzing in the corner, a simple but comfy looking bed, and a table nearby. There's a mini fridge and some shelves with a few dishes and supplies.
It's not much, but it's better than being outside. We use it in the summer for farm help that stays over for a few months. Some people love sleeping here because you can hear all the animals nearby. Just listen.
They're quiet and listen. Then they start to hear the sounds of the animals in the nearby barn.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love animals. We weren't able to have pets at our last place. This is perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, you two get settled in a little bit. I have some friends coming over for a winter solstice bonfire. You're welcome to join us. We'll be having food and music and conversation around the fire, watching the stars come out. You can really see the stars at the farm.
That sounds great. We'd love to.
So the couple settles into their new little space. It isn't much, but they're filled with a sense of joy that so many people have come together to help them in some ways they couldn't have predicted even a day before. As night falls, Fred lights a huge bonfire. I'm not going to do that one. Out in the barn, out in the nearby pasture, and calls Joseph and Mary to join him and his friends. They enjoy a huge feast and the warmth of the fire, and then the conversation starts.
Let me introduce you to three of my best friends, Balti, Melcho, and Gaspar. We met traveling as young men. They've been all over the world and seen a lot of things, and they might have some wisdom to share with you for your struggles.
Yeah, it's a rough situation. I've been there. I've couch surfed over a year once, but it's also a chance to start again, to meet new people and to try new things. What dreams do you two have that you've never been able to get to?
Well, I've always wanted to start a bakery, but I've never been able to have the time or the supplies or the space. I'm always working too hard.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to do technology stuff, like make websites or online games. But same story, no time, no training, no equipment.
Well, those sound like pretty realistic dreams. All you need is a little help to get started.
Yeah, I know lots of people who'd want to support someone getting going as a web tech, especially if you'd be willing to work for them in exchange for training.
Well, sure.
And I'm sure there are baking schools that would help you get started, and plenty of folks who might have space and equipment as part of their business to help you start a baking business.
Heck, Fred, weren't you talking about wanting someone to start making things out of produce that doesn't sell?
Unmute.
Muted.
Sorry, I was pressing the wrong button. Actually, I was, and my web manager's going to have a baby in about 6 months and is planning to leave. So I'm going to need a new tech person soon. How would you two feel about staying around and becoming part of the farm?
Mary and Joseph, of course, look at one another in astonishment. They look at Fred, Balti, Melcho, and Gaspar with wide eyes.
Are you serious?
Yep, totally serious. Things work, you know. On this night, the winter solstice, some people call it Yule, we celebrate the end of the darkness and the beginning of light. We celebrate the fact that even though it gets really dark and cold every winter, even at the darkest time, we know that the warmth and light and spring are coming back. There's always a second chance, or even a third or a fourth one. And there's always a light that can brighten up even the darkest night.
See that brightest star up there? That's Sirius. And right now, it's lined up with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. See that? They are said to point the way forward to something new and good. Sounds like maybe they are pointing a new path for you two tonight.
So, Mary, Joseph, Fred, and the others watched the stars until the fire died down. As they went to sleep in their new place, Mary and Joseph felt a new sense of peace. Even better than they'd had felt before everything went so wrong. In the morning, Fred knocked on their door with a new invitation.
Hey there, you two. Are you up for a little breakfast surprise? I bought you something.
Fred hands them a computer, begins to set it up on the small table.
And the Wi-Fi's pretty good out here too.
Fred logs on to the internet and pulls up a Zoom meeting, logging in.
I thought you two might like to start your day with this. I'm going back inside and logging onto my computer. Stephanie and Eleanor and maybe even Rachel will be on this call. It's a holiday gathering for our local UU congregation, which is how we all met. We thought you might like to join in.
What's you mean?
Yeah, lots of folks don't know about it, but it's a sort of religion where people from all different religions are welcome. It doesn't matter so much what you believe. Everyone there will be curious about what matters to you, and what you think is important won't be judged. You won't be judged for having your own path. It's a place where everyone is welcome. Actually, you could say that in a UU congregation, there is always room at the inn. And actually, there's always a sort of star too, because they always light a chalice at the beginning of the service to symbolize the light of truth, the fire of commitment to justice, and the warmth of community.
And with that, Fred, Joseph, and Mary laughed as they all joined in on the UU Zoom call. They shared their story with the others who were there. And they all talked about how important it is to bring kindness, courage, hope, and inspiration, especially in the darkest of times. We'll now have the chalice lighting.
And in our sanctuary, there is our chalice.
And now I invite you to light your own candles, representing that we each can be a source of hope, courage, inspiration, and joy to one another. And reminding us of the light that lives inside of us, even in the darkest of times.
See if it turns on.
So ends our play. Stay on the Zoom for coffee hour.
Yay, a big round of applause to our guest character.
Okay.